So good evening, Sunday evening that is. Let me adjust this. And I had to turn the music down because in another video where everything listens to everything, I got a notice. They pulled the video down, said it was copyrighted music, and I brought the wild ones. All right, glasses on. All right, so the questions have already started. Doug, good to see you. So let me get into the questions here, if they don't kick the cameras over. Boy, check out the hair. It's been one of those days. So, they're gonna get crazy now. They were calm, they were sleeping a few minutes ago. So, I hope everyone had a lovely Christmas, a Merry Christmas, and we'll be celebrating New Year's before we know it. 2020 is almost to a wrap, and then 2021. So, my Christmas, really, Lucy's gonna do that. She's gonna start WrestleMania. So my Christmas was a good Christmas. It was enjoyable. However, I was not able to spend it with my mom. My mother is, other than Christy, my wife, but my dad passed years ago. And but I couldn't spend it with my mom because of we're in a quarantine. So one of the girls that comes here to the farm and everything and helps out with everything, we think how it worked. Her sister was actually, her sister's boss was positive COVID, and then she tested and she was positive COVID. Therefore, we were in contact with her. She was, in the house and everything. And so we were in quarantine, so therefore my mom couldn't come over. And so that's what happened there. But it's a weird time. And I'm having the trouble with Instagram again, where it keeps on fading off. So hopefully we don't drop the connection since I'm not moving. But weird times, because went over to my mom's and we exchanged gifts in the driveway, wearing masks from a distance. I stayed in the vehicle. It's just weird. But anyway, my mom, had to make sure that we didn't take any chances there. And if you see me leaning over, it's me dealing with Instagram, and I don't know why it keeps on wanting to fade off or whatever it is. I just don't know. I need to switch phones is what I need to do, because I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. So that's my sad little story. But anyway, I'll say late Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all that. So tonight, we're going to talk about daily driving a Defender, if it's possible. Which of course you guys know, yes, it's possible. I've been doing it for years. And if you look at the Facebook groups or read the forums, you'll get a lot of mixed, I guess, you know what I mean. So this is going to be so frustrating. Instagram keeps on fading off. But anyway, so it's, I'm just going to tell you the way it is. When it comes to driving a Defender as a daily driver, I'm going to tell you the pros, I'm going to tell you the cons. And so I'll just give it to you and all that. And I made my notes too, by the way. So Instagram looks fine, but what happens is my screen starts to go black. And then if I don't touch it again, then it just completely disconnects, and then I have to log back in. So that's what happens. And I don't know. It seems like I'm always having that problem. So, but that's what we'll talk about. But before we get into that, I wanted to show you a new little addition. And I don't know if you guys know that I'm really into EDCs. Letter E, DC, everyday carry, but pocket knives. And so this one is it's a vintage one. It's one of from years ago when they started with more or less their, what would you call this? I guess it's a Spyderco is what it is, but they're a paramilitary design. So this is from, if I remember correctly, 1991 that I found. And it's got the serrated blade with the thumb hole. It's got the little rubber on it and everything, all stainless steel. And it's a cute little knife. It's a nice little knife. It holds a pretty good edge. It's nice. So I don't know if you guys are into knives, pocket knives too, but it just makes sense to always have one, especially when you live on a farm. So they're in the other part of the garage playing. So you'll hear the horn honking as Lucy runs under the vehicle. So I don't know, I've been sharing a lot of content lately because I've had some time for video and photography and all that. So did you guys see the picture of me taking a picture of the bison? And I talked about this a little earlier, but I don't know if you saw that picture, but it just really goes to show that some people just have to be negative, have to be bossy, have to be know-it-alls, and want to try to pass judgment. So I would encourage you, never pass judgment. And because it just doesn't make sense. And it makes you, I guess, it's just not the right thing to do. So I had a lot of hate grams. I had a lot of nasty messages about me being so close to the bison. And come on, I'm not an idiot. If I was at Yellowstone, I'm not going to go up and try to take a selfie with a bison. I live on a farm. I'm in the country, and the bison does have a name. The bison's name is Winchester. So I talked about this earlier on a video, but just so you guys know, it's not like I have a death wish or anything like that. So Winchester lost his mother when really at birth. So he was a bottle-fed baby from 2 days old until now. I mean, not until now, but from 2 days old. So he's a bottle-fed baby because his mom abandoned him. So he's 5 years old now. And Winchester plays with the dogs. Winchester has his own pet cow. And he's tame. I mean, he loves people. If you look at my Instagram earlier back, you'll see where, I'm scratching his head and I'm hugging him and everything else. So it's not like I went out in the middle of the West and said, oh, here's a bison. Let me go out and take some pictures of it. So you see people being negative on my Instagram, call them out. So anyway, all right, so let's get into it. I made my notes so I can make sure I stay on track because I am one of those types. It's like squirrel, and then I get onto something else and go there. But of course, I want you guys to ask questions and ask me questions, anything you want to know, just ask questions. But let me get through whether or not it's the ideal daily driver. And let me start out with this first. I've been playing with, I've been working with Defenders for many years now. And I have numerous vehicles, I have, what do I have? I have 6 other vehicles that are not Defenders. So I have my choice of other vehicles that I can drive that are all, modern day vehicles. Instagram is just wearing me out. But so I have other vehicles that have cruise control and heated seats, and basically you get in them and you don't even have to worry about what you do. They just, they're easy to drive. From 2020 models, 2019, 2017, 2016, 2015. So newer style vehicles. I have my choice to drive any of those, but I will tell you, I end up driving a Defender more than anything else. So I've put a number of miles on Defenders. I don't hesitate to hop in one. And some of you guys that have been following me for a while know that I went to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, or started on that trip, and then something with my mom happened. But anyway, but don't hesitate to take the trip. I've done the Lighthouse Tour where I've gone through New Hampshire and Maine and into Nova Scotia. I'll drive them anywhere. It doesn't make a difference to me. I will start out by telling you, though, a Land Rover Defender. Some days I'm just going to give up Instagram. I really am. Why? Maybe it's my phone. But it's not a G-Wagon. It's not an Escalade. It's not that, but it's not supposed to be that. It has plenty of horsepower. It has plenty of torque. And people ask me a lot of times about horsepower, but I won't even, it's about the torque is what it's really about. But it's not an Escalade. It's not a G-Wagon. It's not that. But that's not what it's supposed to be. It does not have cruise control. It does not have tilt steering. It does not have power seats. It doesn't, Lucy, stop. It doesn't have any of those elements to it or any of those conveniences to it. Oh, Lucy's scared now. Leo barks, Lucy gets scared. So, can you hear her doing the little hurf, hurf? Go get him. Go get him. Okay. But the short answer is yes, you can drive it daily, but you're going to give up some things. So let me start with the pros of owning a Land Rover Defender. The first pro is appreciation and value. A Land Rover Defender, they're not making them anymore, and from 1985 until 2016, it's the same vehicle. Looks-wise, I mean, the motor changed and the dash changed, but it's basically the same vehicle. Since they're not making them anymore, they are going up in value every single year. You can Google it. You will see that Forbes talks about the best classic vehicles to buy that are increasing in value, and Defender's been on that list for the last 11 years in a row. So how many vehicles? I am so tired of having to lean over and hit Instagram on my phone to make it come back. So anyway, it's increasing in value. It's as simple as that. And when the Defender 2020 model came out, it created even a larger demand on the vehicle. That there was a lot of people that knew the vehicle but thought it was just a Discovery or something. They just knew the look of the Defender. And then when they seen the new 2020 Defender come out, then they started Googling it and searching it, and then they realized, oh, that's the vehicle I like, that classic look. And I've sold a number of them to individuals that looked at the looked at the original, not the original, I'm losing my mind because Instagram is throwing me off with having to keep on clicking on it so it doesn't die. I'll quit complaining about that though. But they went out, they seen the new 2020 model, and it's basically a Discovery. It looks good, it drives good, it's comfortable, it's got everything like that, but it's not what a lot of people wanted it to be or expected it to be. And they seen the original Classic, and they said, that's what I want, is I want the original Classic, so therefore they didn't buy the new 2020 or 2021 model. I've had some people that had deposits on the 2020 model, and they pulled their deposit off and ended up buying the Classic, is what they did. So it's interesting, and they're using them as daily drivers. So it's very desirable, and it's increasing in value, so it's a good investment, versus if you buy a 2020, it's only going to decrease in value. They're going to continue to make them. So that's the first thing, the pro, increasing in value. The next is, believe it or not, it's very easy to work on. And when I say easy to work on, you can take it to basically any European shop that works on a Volvo or a Mercedes or, diesel motors, a tractor mechanic. You don't have to take it to a Land Rover Defender dealer or a Land Rover dealership. And in fact, I would encourage you not to, because they're going to want to hook it up to a computer and try to diagnose it. The thing is, they don't have computers, so you can't diagnose it. You have to just know simple engines. And I mean, that's what it is. It's a 4-cylinder, the 300 TDI is a 4-cylinder turbo diesel. It's a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder turbo diesel. The 200 TDI is a 4-cylinder turbo diesel, the same size. So really simple to work on, really easy to find a mechanic. You can find a mechanic in any town, regardless of where you're at. It's just, they're that easy. The engine design is a design that's basically been used numerous times, kind of recrafted and put into tractors and everything else. So it's diesel, and it's just easy to work on. And cost of ownership is lower than a gasoline motor, and you've heard me talk about that. The next one is, people love them. And I've driven a lot of different vehicles, and I'll tell you, if you're in a G-Wagon, you're possibly, especially now with what's going on in our society and news and economy and all that, and I'm not saying the economy's bad by any stretch, but if you're driving a G-Wagon, pretty good chance you're going to get the finger. And it's not going to be this finger, it's going to be another finger. Because then people think, oh, they're snobby. And a Defender, I will tell you, it's amazing the number of people that I have given me this finger, the thumbs up. People driving down the road, pulling up beside me, trying to take pictures of going down the road. I stop at a gas station, people asking if they can take pictures of it, people asking questions, and they always ask, is that the new Defender? And it's like, no, it's not the new Defender. Oh, I love it. But that's part of the restoration, is to make it look new, LED headlights and all that. But anyway, I won't even get into all that. So people love it. Therefore, if people love it and it stands out, it's easier. There's just a demand for them. So it's as simple as that. So again, I'm going through the pros of driving a Defender daily. The next one is it's fuel efficient. Diesel motor, 4-cylinder, turbo diesel. It is fuel efficient. You will easily get in the low 20s, depending on how you drive it, but in the low 20s to the mid 20s miles per gallon. I've gotten as much as in the upper 20s, depending on what part of the country that I'm driving in. So it is fuel efficient. And the next part of fuel, it's really easy to find fuel. I mean, you think, oh, a diesel, it might be hard to find fuel. Think of all the tractor trailers that are on the highway going up and down, and think about all of the farmers that drive diesel trucks because they have more torque and the longevity is there. So yes, diesel fuel is really easy to find. You've just probably never looked for it because maybe you didn't have a diesel, but I'll tell you it's easy to find. The next one is it's reliable. And I know what you've read on the forums. I know what you've seen and I know what you've heard. I do. But what they're saying is, oh, Land Rover's not dependable. And that's true. A Land Rover Discovery or a Range Rover is not dependable. That is so true. But what makes them not dependable is when they started adding the computer and all the additional technology in there. We make the joke about Lucas Electronics. That's the point of failure on Land Rovers and Range Rovers, is usually the electronics. Defenders, I will tell you though, are quirky, and I'll get into the cons. But they are reliable. If you get a Defender that was built well, has been maintained well, or if you get one that wasn't maintained well, it doesn't take a lot of money to get it maintained, get it up to speed, get it up to par, and you have a very reliable vehicle. So they are reliable. The next part is cost of repairs, minimal. It's not expensive to repair these vehicles just because the motor is so simple, 4-cylinder turbo diesel. You use that European mechanic, his hourly rate is normally going to be around $70 to $80 per hour, maybe as much as $90. But a new Defender, you take it to the dealership, they're going to be $108 to $130 an hour. The markup on the parts is going to be astronomical. So it's going to be costly, new Defender versus the classic Defender. So classic Defender, very affordable on maintenance and parts, and they are reliable. The next thing that I really like about the Defenders is the room. It's amazing how much room you have inside one of these vehicles, whether it's a D90, a D110, a D130, just the amount of room. It goes up tall, and I'm going to talk about height, but it goes up tall, so you have a lot of room to pack a lot of stuff in. So it's a very practical vehicle. I mean, another practical vehicle, quite honestly, is a Dodge Caravan. But who wants to drive a Dodge Caravan? I mean, no offense if you have one, it's a practical vehicle, but a Defender is very practical too. It's practical. It's what it is. You can carry a lot of crap. Let's put it that way. So that's the next thing. Next part of it that you can't do with the Dodge Caravan, but what you can do with the Defender is you can go anywhere. And you've seen my videos, and we have had some of those negative people. Oh, you were in 4 inches of snow and all that. Granted, Enzo, the D130 has been set up a little differently. It has big wide tires on it. Generally in snow you want narrow tires, but I'm not changing tires around. And the snow that I was running Enzo in, and you'll see the video this upcoming week, I was in snow, and we measured it, and it was over 4 feet deep. That's what I was plowing through in that. The one right behind me here, the D110 double cab, I've been in some really serious mud, some rock climbs, and it wasn't that I went out to go four-wheeling, but it just ended up that way. And then, of course, let me turn this just a little bit. And then, of course, there's Phoenix Orange. So it's a go-anywhere vehicle, I'll tell you that. You can do whatever you want with it. You don't have to worry about where you're going. I know a lot of individuals don't go off-road, but that's where I say if you get a Defender, I encourage you, go find the minimum maintenance roads. Go where other people haven't been. And let me make sure. There we go. And it's just a fun vehicle. It's fun to just get out into the wilderness and enjoy yourself and just reflect. But anyway, all right, I was going to go into a poem for you. The next one, parts are plentiful. It's so easy to get parts on these vehicles. Even where we live in the United States, it's easy to get parts. There's Lucky 8 Off-Road in Buffalo, New York. There's Rover's North in Vermont, which is the biggest parts supplier for Land Rovers and Land Rovers in the country. They have everything you need, and I mean everything when I say everything. You can go on Amazon, you can order stuff for them. You can go on eBay and order stuff for them. There's a company called Series Defender that's relatively new. They have parts. There's Rimmer Brothers in Florida and England. They have parts. There's Atlantic British, which is in Albany, New York. They have parts. So just take it. Parts are plentiful. Parts are easy to get. Parts are very inexpensive. Case in point, I recently did a water pump, a tensioner, the tensioner pulley, and an alternator, and a new belt. All of the parts combined was about $370. The labor on it was 2 hours. It was like $160. So that point right there. You can also get parts for these vehicles. Not all of the parts, but you can get some of the parts. You can get them at AutoZone, you can get them at Advance, you can get them at any of those places. It doesn't take a special oil. It doesn't take a special oil filter. It's simple. So, all right, so there, parts, we're on that. So I'm gonna move on here. You ready? What else is there? You know what I really like about them? What I really enjoy about a Defender is they are so customizable. Just by changing the grille, you can change the entire look and the perspective of the vehicle. Just by changing the bumper, you can change the perspective of it. By changing the bonnet, the hood, go from a Heritage to a Puma bonnet, changes the look. Just by painting the roof a different color. If you have one like the one earlier today, the classic that I was driving, that was in Coniston Green with the white roof. If I was to paint that roof or have a wrap put on it and change it to black, it completely changes the perspective of it. So again, very easily customizable. Change the wheel and tires or the stance of it, all very affordable and will completely change the look. And there's a ton of suppliers that are making parts for these to make it very specific to the way you want it to look. And I mean, just look across my shoulder here. You'll see Hayrod with the bumper, where I have the silver bumper with the twist. And then, of course, I've got orange with the 2 LEDs on either side and then the nudge bar. And it just completely changes the look and the feel of the truck. So, next one. Suspension. The ride is nice on these if you upgrade the suspension, and I'll mention that in the cons. So by upgrading by upgrading the suspension, say that quickly, guys. If you put some Bilstein shocks on here and you put anti-sway bars on them, it completely changes the ride and makes it enjoyable. You want to take it a whole nother level, then change the springs on them. If you put a progressive spring, coil spring, that changes it. If you put coil suppressors, dampeners, which is like a polyurethane thing that goes above the coil springs, then that helps change the ride more. So suspension is nice if it's set up properly. So that helps make it a daily driver. The next one, the performance is good. I mean, you can do some different performance tuning, And what I mean on the 300 TDI, and I'm just telling you this as a friend, if you do this and you do it incorrectly or have the mechanic do it incorrectly and it blows up the motor, then it's your own responsibility. I have to say that because I'm actually being sued for doing an Instagram video and talking about how to do performance upgrades. So I'll just tell you, the performance is good if you set it up properly. I'll just leave it at that. And so anyway, we could always have a conversation on the phone where it can't be documented. And I can tell you the things you need to do. Next thing, brakes. When you change it over to a four-wheel disc brake system, the braking is good. It stops nice and everything else. So that's all the pros. I mean, there's other things that I will talk about in the cons, but you can make them drive really nice, daily driver. I drive mine as a daily driver. I'm on the phone on my commute that's over 50 miles. And but of course that takes soundproofing, sound deadening. And again, that goes back to the easily customizable. There's a lot of things you can do. It's really easy to work on. Even if you're not a mechanic, there's a lot of fun stuff that you can do with these trucks. Now, the cons. Are you ready for that? It's not an Escalade, it's not a Denali, it's not a G-Wagon, it's just not. So don't think it is, and don't call me asking me about trying to make it be like a G-Wagon. It's not. It has more character than a G-Wagon. The old G-Wagons I like, the new ones I don't. They're just a little too, they're just not for me, okay? So, the first element, leaks. They are going to have drips, they are going to have seepage, they are going to have little leaks. That's just part of the character. That's all there is to it. There's nothing you can do about it. Some of the leaks, some of the drips, some of the seepage, yes, you can fix, but you are always going to have that little drip, that little seep. It's just the way it is. It's the character of it. And if you constantly go around chasing every leak, if you go around chasing every squeak, every creak, every groan, every clack, you will drive yourself absolutely nuts and you will drain your bank account. Because these trucks were built as farm trucks. They were built to be used on the farm. And that's part of the character that they have. Yes, you can drive them as a daily driver. Yes, I've put hundreds of miles on them for multiple days at a time, and they've done great. But that's just part of what I love is the character of the little leaks and the creaks and the squeaks and the groans and the whining and everything else. So, sorry, my nose is itching, whiskers. But that's the first element. The next one is they're noisy. Yes, I do a tremendous amount of sound deadening, level 3 extreme sound deadening with a lizard skin insulation and then another lizard skin and then 3 layers of butyl rubber foam with with like a silver backing for temperature. And then I do a couple layers of foam. I do all of that to sound deaden it. And it brings the sound down drastically, significantly brings the sound down. But I'm going to say it again. It's not an Escalade and it never will be. So it brings the sound down. You can still have a hands-free conversation. You can hear your passenger fine. You can have a casual conversation. You don't have to scream at one another. But it's never going to be a G-Wagon that has double pane glass with whatever in between it, double thickness glass. It's never going to be an Audi Q7. It's never going to be that. That's not what it's about. It just won't. But you can get it down to a very acceptable level when it comes to noise. Turning radius is not the best, but there's a lot of vehicles it's not. So, yeah, you can turn it around in a road, and depending on the width of the road. And guess what? If you've got to drive off the road a little bit and it's a ditch, who cares? Big deal. It can go right through it, no problem. I'll admit it, they're slow. They're not 250 horsepower, 300 horsepower, 400 horsepower. And that's not how you measure these trucks. And I get that question a lot. What's the horsepower? I don't know. Don't know. Don't care. And the reason being is it's about torque. I can pull a stump up with one of these. I can drive the front of it up to a loading dock And if the bumper's not hitting, that is, this bumper's a little fancier, but I can pull it up to a loading dock, put the tires on the loading dock, give it gas, and the thing will climb right up the loading dock, up a concrete wall. I can also tell you the inclines that I can climb is crazy of what it can do. The rocks that I can go over and what I can climb with, whether it's in Moab or whatever, is unbelievable. These trucks are built for torque, not horsepower. Torque gives you pulling power, tug power. Horsepower gives you go fast power. So they're all about torque, not horsepower. When I say slow, yeah, I can cruise comfortably at 70 miles an hour in most of them. So, and I can even push it up to 75. Let's see, somebody said, yep, there you go. Somebody said, and the Kardashians, rappers, strippers, and tattoo artists can keep their G500s. Oh boy. All right, well, anyway, there we go. All right, but yeah, all right. Exactly, and I'll put my dogs in the back and my shotgun and all that. All right. Oh, you guys are rough. All right, anyway, braking, original brakes, yeah, they're not great. They're not good. I mean, the original brakes are pitiful, let's just be honest. But that's why it's important to have good brakes on these and upgrade the brake system if you're going to use it for a daily driver. They can also be tall. So if you are in the city and you're going into a parking garage, you need to know going into it, how tall is it? Generally 78 to 80 inches is a good measurement normally. The D130 though is, I believe, 84, 85, I forget. It's up there. So anyway, the next one is arm room. I should have done this video sitting in it, but you will see a lot of the Land Rover drivers that they're driving and they have their window down and their arm out the window. And it's not because we're being cool. It's because on the driver's side, we don't have a tremendous amount of room because the truck was originally built for right-hand drive, but then Land Rover did not retool it. And so when it was built for right-hand drive, they gave the driver more room on the right-hand side. But when they said, hey, guess what? We can sell these across the world in Italy and Poland and France. That's where we get ours. So what they did is they just put the steering wheel on the other side, the steering box and all that, but they didn't give the left-hand driver more room. So the passenger has more room on the right-hand side. So there you go. So that's why no arm room. The next one is leg room. If you're a tall person, leg room could be an issue, but they do make, again, parts are plentiful, they do make extended seat rails that get you back a little farther so you can have leg room. So if you're 6 foot, 6'1", over 6 foot, you're going to have to do the extended seat rails. But if you're in a D90, then you have to do a partial bulkhead removal. That's the bar, or the block, the support in the back behind the seat in the D90. Easy enough to do. But that's something, just know that's got to be done because the leg room is not the greatest unless you do that. The next one is rear passenger room. And a D110, the rear passengers do not have a lot of room. That's all there is to it. They just don't. There's things you can do to get the seats back a little farther, give them a little more room, but all in all, not a tremendous amount of rear passenger room. All right, so the next one. It's rust. Yes, they definitely are known for rust issues. And when I say rust, not only rust on the frame, but galvanic corrosion. The frame is steel, the body's aluminum, and the Brits, they used steel bolts, so it creates, when you put steel and metal together, it creates a galvanic corrosion. The doors actually have steel frames with aluminum over the top, aluminum skins, which when they touch creates that galvanic corrosion again. But if it's a Helderburg Defender, we've taken care of all that. We have epoxies, we have processes, we have all of these things to make that not a problem. Again, I'm talking about original Land Rover Defenders that have not gone through the Helderburg process. All right, so, all right, what's going on? And guys, I'm sorry I'm not answering your questions yet. I'm trying to get through the list and don't want to be too squirrel, so you might have to ask them again, and I apologize. But I'm trying to remember them as they're going through, okay? Suspension and steering, if you have not done the suspension job and the steering job, like what we do to our builds, Suspension can rattle your teeth. You can go around a corner and the body rolls over. It's kind of a really weird feeling. You have a lot of play in the steering wheel. All of that can be corrected and fixed to basically modernize them. That's all easy. So just so you know. Lighting is hideous on these things originally. But again, a lot of providers, all my trucks have LED lighting all the way around. So that's what happens. So that's the pros and the cons. There's others, but the short answer is yes, you can drive them as a daily driver. It's not going to be like an Escalade or anything like that, but you've heard me say that many times. It's the character. It's what's enjoyable. So now, let's start answering your questions, guys. And I'm going to give you a minute to type in the questions. Michael did ask, one of the questions he asked is, what about making it for storage options for a daily driver? You do have storage options under, like in a D90, under the seat. There's boxes under the seat, so you can actually pull the seat up, and there's some really cool storage under the seat. And then you could even do storage on the bottom of the seats too. There's also storage options that hang off of the back of the seats. There's also a really nice leather bag that we get made from Ruskin that hangs on the rear bulkhead right behind the seats. It's got all kinds of pockets and flaps and everything else. So there's that. There's also storage options where you can do a leather or a canvas bag that goes on the very rear door. So when you open the door, you have the storage options there. And then there's also the storage options on your doors too, that you can do a different type of a door panel that gives you the storage option there. So a lot of storage options. And then ultimately you can do the storage option in the rear cargo area that's a pull-out drawer that's 3 feet by 4 feet that gives you a lot of room. All right, so here's a question. Is there a need for a big brake package when upgrading factory brakes? It depends on how quick you want to stop. I mean, we do 4-wheel disc brake systems, and it definitely does stop them quicker. On a D130 or a heavier vehicle, I say, yeah, do the brake package. So it's... One of you saying, hey, I got the factory brakes for years, and they're honestly fine. Yeah, you use good brake pads, and you got nice rotors on there. It's going to do a good job. It really is. But the big brake package, what it will give you is colored calipers that look really cool. Then you can match the calipers to the tow hooks, right? All right, so there you go. All right, guys, what other questions do you have as you start to ask questions? Go ahead and type them in, and then I'm going to show you something while you're typing in some questions. So our buddies at Ruskin sent us some new leather samples to go in with our existing leather samples. And there's one color in particular that I really like, and it's called Vintage Woodland. I'm really liking this. It's like a real muted green. Hi, Leo. It's a muted, not pastel, but a muted green. Vintage Woodland. I'm really enjoying that color. Or enjoying it. I really like it. Let's see, what's this? Vintage Manuscript. What's wrong, baby? Is Lucy picking on you? Lucy's been bullying him. So, asked, what's the color of the 90 in the middle? That's actually in the middle right there is a D110 double cab, and it's Havana Gray Pearl. All right, so what other color do we have? What do you guys think about this color? Vintage Joust. So, some new colors. I really like that. And then this is Vintage Round Table. All right, and then this one's got some nice red in it. Vintage Wax Seal. What's wrong? Lucy's picking on you, right? Well, bark at her. Whenever Leo barks, Lucy runs for cover. And then, of course, this is a really popular color that you see on Instagram a lot, on some of the other guys that do builds. And this is called Vintage Thatch. So, really popular color. So, anyway. All right, so questions, guys. What are your questions? What do you have? What can I answer for you? And we'll go from there. So, or did I answer everything for you? Let me see. Can I even scroll through some questions? Oh, I can. Look at that. We talked about storage options to tuck the crap away. Let's see. Oh boy. There's a lot in there. Yep, I'm just looking at some of the questions I can't even read because I only speak English. 70 is, Spencer says 70 is all I need. I just need low range when I reach the trailhead. True. So there you go. All right, guys. So if you don't have any questions, you know what that means. I'm going to show you. I'm going to get your opinion. I'm not really a bourbon drinker, but I got this in because it has the horse on top, right? That's what it is. And Blanton's single barrel bourbon whiskey. Is this good stuff? So anyway, I thought it was a cool looking bottle. All right, so one of the questions I have is, do you sell any of the 110s from 2014? That's a good question. Let's kind of discuss that. The answer is no. And the reason being is in the United States, you cannot legally own or import a 2014 Land Rover Defender. The vehicle has to be 25 years old or older to legally have it in the United States. So that's just the federal government. That's the law. That's the way it works. And that's what we have to deal with, unless you're in Canada, and then it's 15 years old. Then if Canada, you 15 years old or older, U.S., 25 years old or older. And is it possible to put a front-facing back seat in a D90? The answer is yes, you can definitely do that. So in a D90, look at my previous post on Instagram. I show you the seating configuration of how you can set the seats up in all the different ways. But you can do the forward-facing because then it allows you to flip up to the sides is what happens. Actually, so someone said that's because of the airbags and such. That's one of the reasons, but another reason it was a shakedown is what it was for the U.S. government trying to shake down Land Rover because they wanted a tremendous amount of money to be able to bring them into the country, and Land Rover didn't have the money. Land Rover didn't want to retool or anything like that, so they said, forget you, we're not doing it. So anyway, so that's what happened. All right. If there's no more questions, you know what that means? Collect all the different bottle tops. Outstanding. Okay, cool. If that's it, I am going to go in and spend some time with Christy and the puppies. Thanks for joining me. Next Sunday night, if you would, send me some things. Send me some things you would like me to talk about. And yeah, whatever you would like to talk about. And so somebody said, yeah, you can bring in an older vehicle and swap in a newer Land Rover engine. Yes, you can. That's one thing that you can do, without a doubt. And yes, you guys are welcome to come and visit. Come visit. Come hang out at the farm. We will go pet Winchester, the bison, okay? Some people, I swear. Hey, once you guys go to my Instagram account, and then the guys that were being all negative, why don't you say something to them, whatever you want to do. So I'll see you next Sunday, 6:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll hang out, we'll have fun together, and we'll talk about Defenders. And I'll see about bringing the puppies. Have a great night, and Happy New Year.